Maggie, would you like to be in this Astro Harry video? Was that you saying yes? Not sure. Hello and welcome to another edition of Astro Harry's Astronomy Club. And I've just got a couple of housekeeping things to do before I crack on with this video. The first thing is I'm so thankful to having 600 subscribers. That just completely passed me by, and it's such an amazing feat. I'm hoping that there's something here that people are enjoying, and if so, we'll carry on. The second thing was I almost packed this in over the summer. It's been a horrendous summer in the UK for weather. It's been so cloudy and wet. It's made this hobby nigh on impossible. Also, the short nights, long days, you know the normal story. So I almost packed it in. The other thing is a lot of my gears just stopped working properly. But thanks to Mrs. Astro Sally, we've worked together, and I've got my scope collimated, and I've done a few other little things as well. And I will share that in a second video, but it's amazing how much of a difference that has all made. So I finally got out this week and took some planet images, which then brings on to the subject of the video. So today's video is about finding a planet killer scope. So I've always wanted to take really good images of Jupiter and Saturn, and they're such great objects, and you see the pictures that are posted and you're like, wow, I really want to do that. So why can't I do that with the gear that I've got? So one of the first things that I learned with this hobby when I started to really get into it is not one scope fits all. And you can go anywhere from just using a DSLR camera with a few lenses all the way through to monstrously sized telescopes full of really cool things. And it's all about field of view. So depending on the object that you want to capture, you need to look at things like field of view and also the fastness or the slowness of your telescope. So I learned this and find that sort of great. So I have 4 telescopes, but they all roughly do the same job. They're all similar focal length, similar magnification, similar f-stop. So there's not really much doing with my telescopes in terms of using them to take better pictures of planets. What they do is great. I mean, I've loved the pictures I've taken. I took some this week. Jupiter, Saturn looked amazing, but they're not up there with the type of images that you see other people posting. So I decided to have a look at why that is, because telescopes, I've got a big telescope, the size is big, you know, why can't I get these the planets? So I did some research and I found a really good article, which I'm going to post a link to. And the article was all about the criteria for a planet-killing scope. And what it talks about was focal length. That was the main focus of it, is that you need a long focal length. So my Telestron 130s are 650mm focal length. And focal length is dead simple. It's the distance from when the sort of the light from the object goes into the telescope and comes out the other end where the eyepiece goes. That's your focal length. There's no sort of science about it. So most telescopes, the focal length, it's obvious what they are, because like a reflector will go down and back up again, so you can work it out. It's roughly twice the distance of the telescope. And then also a refractor is even simpler. It's literally end to end. So you imagine the pirate, you know, looking through his telescope. That's the focal length. So 2 meters is quite a long focal length, because you imagine having a reflector or a refractor of 2 meters length, they'd be massive things. You know, 2 meters worth of telescope, even folded in half for a Newtonian, is quite a big thing. So then I started to look at other things like aperture, which is the size of the lens or the size of the mirror, and so on. And then sort of started to look at the science of it, and it seems that the only way I was going to do this was in 2 different directions. One was to get a big Dobsonian telescope, like a big Skywatcher Dob, or the other option was to get a hybrid scope, where the sort of optics of a refractor and a reflector are combined, and clever things happen. So I looked at both options. So straight away, the Dob went. I mean, to get a Dob of close to 2,000 meters focal length, you are talking about something huge with a 12, 14, 16-inch mirror. And these things are ginormous. They are the size of cars. I have nowhere to put a 12-inch Skywatcher, 300 in my house or in my sheds or wherever it's like that. So that straight away went, because it's just not practical. The other thing is I wanted something that was relatively lightweight, so I could mount it on one of my existing mounts. I've got an SLT mount, I've got an EQ3 mount, so I didn't want anything that was going to be above 4 or 5 kilograms. So therefore, that's sort of ruled out some of the bigger solutions for this. I finally came, after doing a bit of research, I finally came to the conclusion that my telescope was going to be 127-1900 Mac. So a Mac telescope, there's variations on these things, but in simple terms, they managed to take, say for example, a 2000 millimeter focal length, and they sort of put it into a quarter. So they use clever optics, so there'll be a lens at the front, there'll be a mirror at the back, there'll be a secondary mirror, and so on and so forth. So the light bounces around 4 times before it comes out at the other end. So for in dead simple terms, if you want a 2 meter focal length, you only need a telescope that's half a meter long. Brilliant. Okay, great. It's not quite as simple as that, but you know, speaking in terms like this, it means that then you can have a telescope that is lightweight, you can have a telescope that is affordable, and you can have a telescope that's easy to manage. So that's brilliant. So that's this one that I came to. It was 100 millimeters off my 2000 millimeter target, but hey, you know, looking at the options and the budgets and everything else like that, it seemed to fit the bill. 4 kilograms weight, so it could go on the mounts no problem at all, and all the little mounting brackets and everything, they look to be fine. So that'd be great. So therefore, I've ordered one and it's come, and we're going to do unboxing. That's really exciting. The downsides of using these type of hybrid scopes, and it's you get your SCT, so the Celestrons are quite popular, the orange Celestrons with the big lenses at the front and the little, you see the little sort of the little mirror in the middle of that lens and so on. They all work in a similar principle, whereas they're sort of using the lenses and the mirrors and the optics to bend the light. The downside of these type of scopes is, apart from the really big ones, the first thing is your field of view. So when you are taking, you've got a relatively sort of skinny scope and it's bouncing all this light around, you have a very small field of view. Now for planets, that's fine, because even the biggest planets like Jupiter and so on, 50 milliards seconds or whatever it is, it's not going to be an issue. So that isn't a problem. But if I ever wanted to do sort of deep sky stuff, I'd be very limited. That's fine. That's what the other telescopes are there for. It's not a problem. The second thing is that they are closed. So there's a lens at one side, there's a mirror on the other side, so on. So there's no air gets into the system, which means that there is an issue with something called cool down time. So if you take the telescope from a warm house outside where it's cold, there is a temperature difference, and that causes issue with the optics or thermal interference and stuff. If you look through a fire and you see it all bubbling away, it's that sort of general idea. So there is issues with letting the optics cool down. But then again, the way I store my telescopes, I think I'll be okay with that, because there's they're not kept in the house, so we can sort of see if that works or not. So they're really the sort of things, really. So I'm very, very excited about going through this process. I ordered my telescope on Wednesday. It came on Friday. Amazing service. Things that came all the way from Germany. And I'm hoping that there isn't too much of a learning curve, because I've already got the mount, I've already got the optics. I'm going to be using my same planetary camera that I use with my Astrophi. So that's the sort of theory, really, and everything. So thank you very much for joining me, and I will proceed with the unboxing. How exciting! So my very first unboxing video. I feel very YouTube now. I feel like, that's it. I've made it. So here's the box. I'll just move these degenerates out of the way. So here's our box of telescopes. How exciting! As I said, this came through no problem at all. The DHL man, he actually managed to come to work first before he came to my house, and I thought, well, that's just like trolling me, and I've never been trolled by a telescope before, so that's the other exciting part. So this is a Bresser Messier 127, which is the size of the aperture, 1900, which is the focal length. So it's all in the box there. So I'm really sort of excited about that. So we get our 3 boxes. So let's have a look what's in the boxes. So look at the first little one. Very, very light indeed. I think this is just a packing box, this. Yep, nothing in there. That's disappointed. And then we have the second box. So let's have a look what's in the second box. And we'll have all sorts of goodies. Let's have a look. So we have a finder scope, which I'm quite excited about because I'm fed up with the celestial finder scopes. They're totally rubbish. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that works on the telescope. I have I've got no idea what this is. Or is it just an eyepiece? I think so. Yeah. So I've got a 26mm eyepiece. Massive field of view. Look at the size of that thing. Wow. That'd be amazing. I've never seen an eyepiece holder like that. Very funky. That's cool. I'm not an eyepiece guy, so it'll hardly get used that, but it's nice nonetheless. And then a diagonal, which makes a lot of sense because the telescope is like one end to end, and it's at this end you look through. So obviously, if you start to tilt it and you're looking up high in the sky, you're going to be struggling a bit, especially when you're an old man like me who has, a bad back and what have you. So little diagonal, that's really quite cool as well. That's very helpful. And then let's see what else we've got in the box. Oh, this is an amazing piece of kit. This, I didn't know whether the telescope would come with one or not because it wasn't listed, but I saw it listed on other websites, and it's a solar filter. Absolutely brilliant. This, so you put this on the front of the telescope, and then we can do sunspots and things. And with this, all this magnification power, that's going to be brilliant. That. So really, really, really happy I've got a solar filter. Look at the size of it, massive. Right, so that's the accessories done. Great. Let's see what else we've got. We have a little planisphere. So that will help you find objects. So you just pick the day, and you pick the time of the time that you're observing, and you pick the day, and you play around and everything. That's really cool. Got a little, I've never seen these before. It's got a little finger, so I'm assuming that is for altitude, so you can work out the altitude. That's nice. Nice little toy. I've got an envelope with instructions on how to download some software. I think we're okay with that. How to use the solar filter. Again, I think we're okay with that. And then the actual instruction manual for the telescope itself. I might need that. You never know. You know what those men are like. So all that stuff, and it says, caution, do not discard any boxes. Good advice, that. Very good advice. So that's all the bits and pieces. So then we've got our telescope itself. So I'm just going to get rid of the big box because we don't need that anymore. Somewhere for the cats to live in. So this is our telescope. How exciting! So let's have an open of this. I was always a bit worried because there's a lot of glass involved in these telescopes. I was always a bit worried about, will it survive the journey? But leap of faith time. It's nicely padded, which is obviously a really important thing. I'm also quite nervous in general about handling a telescope like this. The newts can take a bit of rough treatment because it's just a mirror. That's not going anywhere. Whereas because this has got glass and carefully aligned optics and everything, I'm just a bit slightly nervous. I am prone to clumsiness. Gently open the plastic, which I'm sure is helping with the audio quality. Sorry. That's that done, and then we've got some tissue paper. There we are, and here's our telescope. How exciting! So the first thing I've realised is I think I'm going to need an adapter from the mount because although I suppose I can do, it's dual function, so I can do that. So that's the first thing I need to look at. But yes, here's our telescope. Our 127. So it's amazing that's 2 meters worth of focal length, just about. Damn it. So got the mounting point at the bottom. We've got a nice lens cover, which I think is a great idea because we don't want dust and all sorts of other rubbish getting on there. And then we've got the first lens, and you see the silver circle, that's the secondary mirror. So that's what that's for. So the light goes in there, bounces at the back, comes back out again, and then finally comes out here. where the focuser is. So yeah, it's got a little knobby focuser. It's quite exciting. So yeah, and then we've got the eyepiece holder itself. Yeah, nothing tremendously exciting about that, and it unscrews. So I'm going to assume, I'm not going to mess about it too much, but I assume that we can put a 2-inch eyepiece or 2-inch camera, something like that in there if you want. But yes, there's our telescope. I will hold it up like that, so you can see. So I'm really excited about getting this out in the field. Weather forecast is a bit iffy the next few days, so I can't promise an immediate second video, but yeah, all looking really exciting. So thank you very much for joining me on this exciting journey.